Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome back to the most complete spoken English course on YouTube, where you learn English without boring grammar, without textbooks, and without stress. Here, you learn by listening to real-life stories and answering simple questions that will boost your fluency. Today's story is called Why I Didn't Want to Go Back to School. Let's begin. It all started during the second week of 7th grade. My name is Lucas, and I used to love school. Back in my old neighborhood, I had great friends, nice teachers, and I even liked doing my homework. I used to wake up excited to go to school every day. But that all changed when my family moved to a new city. It wasn't a big move, just 2 hours away. But for a 12-year-old, it felt like being dropped on another planet. New streets, new house, new routines, and worst of all, a new school. The first day at Jefferson Middle School was nothing like I expected. I wore my favorite hoodie, had a fresh notebook, and told myself to smile and say hi to everyone. But when I walked into that building, everything felt wrong. The hallways were loud and crowded. Everyone already had their friends. They looked at me like I didn't belong there. I found my classroom and sat in the back, hoping not to be noticed. But that's not what happened. During math class, the teacher asked a question about decimals. I raised my hand, trying to make a good first impression. I gave an answer that was only slightly wrong. Before the teacher could respond, a kid in the front row turned around and said loudly, "Seriously? You don't even know that?" Some kids laughed. Others just stared. The teacher ignored the comment, corrected me, and moved on. But inside, I felt like I had been hit by a brick. That was the first time I didn't want to go back to school. But I did. The next few days, I kept to myself. I ate lunch alone. No one invited me to their table. I tried to join a group playing basketball during recess, but one boy said, "We don't need a new kid messing up the team." That night, I cried in the shower. I didn't tell my parents because I didn't want them to worry. I told them everything was fine. But it wasn't. One morning, I had a stomach ache. Not a real one. At least not from food. It was the kind of ache you get when your heart is anxious. I begged my mom to let me stay home. She said, "Is everything okay at school?" I nodded and said I was just tired. She believed me. But I wasn't tired. I was scared. Scared of more laughter. Scared of being invisible. Scared of being the new kid who never fits in. Things got worse. In English class, the teacher asked us to read aloud. When it was my turn, my voice shook. I mispronounced a word, and someone whispered, "What an idiot." I heard it. The teacher didn't. I froze. The words on the page blurred. I wanted to run, but I sat there, pretending not to care, finishing the paragraph somehow. The bell rang, and I rushed out of the room. That night, I told my older cousin about it. He was in high school. He said, "Middle school is tough, but you gotta hang in there. Don't let those kids change who you are." I wanted to believe him, but believing is hard when you feel alone. I started making excuses. I told my parents I had headaches, sore throats, back pain, anything that would keep me home. And some days, it worked. Other days, I had to go back and pretend everything was fine. Then, one afternoon, something unexpected happened. I was sitting alone under a tree near the edge of the playground when a girl named Aria walked over. She said, "Do you like drawing?" I looked up, surprised. She had seen me doodling in my notebook during lunch. I nodded. She smiled and sat next to me. We didn't say much, but we both drew. That was it. No teasing, no jokes, just quiet understanding. The next day, she came again. And the day after that, she brought colored pencils to share. It was the first time I smiled at school in weeks. Eventually, she introduced me to her friend Jonah. He was quiet like me and loved puzzles. Slowly, things began to change. I still didn't love school, but I didn't fear it anymore. I started to speak more in class. Some kids still laughed, but others didn't. And one day, the boy who called me idiot needed help with homework. I helped him, not because he deserved it, but because I didn't want to become like him. So, why didn't I want to go back to school? Because it hurt to feel alone. Because it's scary to be the new kid. Because no one wants to be laughed at. But I went back anyway. And little by little, it got better. Not perfect, but better. And sometimes, that's enough. Now it's time for your quiz. Let's test how much you understood from the story. Remember, answer out loud, and you have 5 seconds to respond after each question. Ready? Let's go. Why did Lucas have to start at a new school? Lucas moved to a new city because his family relocated after his father got a new job, which meant starting over at a completely new school. How did he feel on his first day at Jefferson Middle School? He felt nervous but hopeful, wearing his favorite hoodie and planning to smile and be friendly, even though everything felt strange. What happened when he tried to answer a question in math class? He gave a wrong answer and was mocked by a student, which made other kids laugh and left him feeling embarrassed and humiliated. Why did Lucas begin eating lunch alone? No one invited him to sit with them, and when he tried to play with others, he was excluded and made to feel unwanted. What symptoms did Lucas pretend to have to avoid school? He claimed to have headaches, stomach aches, and other illnesses to avoid going to school and facing more isolation. What happened during English class when he had to read aloud? His voice shook. He mispronounced a word, and someone whispered an insult, making him freeze and feel even worse about speaking up. Who was the first person to show kindness to Lucas? A girl named Aria, who noticed his drawings and sat with him quietly, eventually bringing colored pencils and being a friend. What activity helped Lucas connect with someone new? Drawing. Lucas and Aria began drawing together, which opened the door to new conversations and eventually new friends. What did Lucas do when the boy who insulted him asked for help? He helped him with homework, not because he forgave him, but because he wanted to stay true to himself and not spread hate. What message does Lucas's story teach us? That even when school feels overwhelming and lonely, small acts of kindness and resilience can lead to healing and connection. Great job! Even if you didn't get all the answers, remember, the goal is to practice speaking and listening. Now let's go over some vocabulary from today's story. Let's take a closer look at some key words and expressions from the story. Humiliated. Feeling deeply embarrassed or ashamed. Example: he was humiliated when the class laughed at him. Anxious. Feeling nervous, worried, or fearful about something. Example: she felt anxious before giving her presentation. Mock. To make fun of someone in a cruel or unkind way. Example: the kids mocked him for his clothes. Isolated. Feeling alone or separated from others. Example: after moving, he felt isolated at his new school. Doodle. To draw simple, often meaningless pictures, usually while bored. Example: she doodled in her notebook during class. Resilience. The ability to recover after a tough situation. Example: despite the bullying, his resilience helped him stay strong. Pretend: to act as if something is true when it's not. Example: he pretended to be sick to skip school. Unwanted: not needed or not welcomed. Example: she felt unwanted at the new lunch table. Act of kindness: a small action that shows care for someone. Example: giving someone a pencil can be an act of kindness. Newcomer: someone who is new to a place or group. Example: the newcomer didn't know anyone yet. Thank you so much for watching this video until the end. You are doing something amazing by learning English with stories. If you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends, so more people can enjoy these stories and learn English the easy way. This is Docentes DigitalesTV, where you learn to speak English fast, easy, and with confidence. See you in the next video.